So when a new parawing comes out, it is always exciting, especially if they have a special new thing. Today I'm going to talk about the Sroka Phoenix in 5 meter and their pushbar system. Let's go.
Welcome to Matt on Foil.
So this has been highly anticipated, not only by me, but by the community. You told me, when is this review coming out? It is coming, just relax. So I got this parawing a couple of weeks ago to Silvaplana, and when you get it with this little pouch. You could theoretically bring it on the water with you, but it's not super compact. It's probably just not an accessory to bring on the water, but just to pack your parawing and bring it to the beach more easily. So let's take it out here. Let's have a look at how it looks. And then I'm gonna take it out on the water and see how it behaves and how that push bar system actually is, who it is for, when it is for. So let's go. So the first thing that you feel is that the material is not the lightest. It's not the most expensive parawing either. Price somewhere up here. So, you know, you have to make some cutbacks, right? Also, the thicker material usually is not a problem, especially if you give it to beginners, if you use it on a skateboard or whatever. Sometimes a thicker material is actually okay. So that's just what it is. So first of all, you have the battens that are actually quite thick, I would say, and they're long as well. Like this one here of the side goes down all the way from the front to the back. The middle ones are like usually, like you would expect. For the collar, you have white in front. It says Sroka in the middle, so you know where to hold it up when you want to make it fly. The color coordination on the bar is very good. You have red in front, blue in the middle, and white in the back. Must be French. But let's talk about the bar, because you know that's part of the main thing, right? First of all, it is a probably carbon tube, some carbon sticking out at least, and you have a pretty short bar as well, 30 centimeters, which is always nice if you want to stow it away. A short bar. It is padded. You have that kind of foam on top, but the edges are open, so you can see through. And you, of course, have the harness that you need to put on if you want to depower with that push bar system. And the bridles, they're pretty thin, all of them, and they go, of course, to the bar, through the bar, and on the other side. And on the other side of the bar, you have the harness, and that's where the magic happens. In terms of longevity, yes, I would say the thick material probably helps, and also the end of the battens is covered by this, I don't know, thicker material, so the battens won't start to stick out, which is probably a good thing. So it seems like this parawing is built for longevity, at least the fabric. Not sure about the small bridles. There's a lot of tension on those when flying, but you know, that's what it is. The length of the lines for your front line stall is less than an arm's length, at least to the tips. You probably have to go for central line stow, but it's hard to find the right ones. Let's try to grab them. That's more than my span, and still a little bit sticking out, but let's talk about that later. Let's talk about that on the water, because I was excited. I was at Lake Silvaplana when I first took it out, and Silvaplana is known for gusty winds, right? And that's where this push bar system should come in handy, because a 5er usually at Lake Silvaplana is on the upper limit. So if you have 20 knots a 5er, usually I go with something a little bit smaller. Anyway, that was great because first of all, I wanted to pump it up on foil, and the low end is actually pretty okay, I would say. You can yank at the lines pretty okay, and then once the gusts hit, you can depower like you depower with a regular wing, or you can use that push bar system, and you immediately feel that if you push the bar away, the pressure goes away instantly. So I think that is really something that can work, which is exciting. But let's take it on the water. Let's see how it behaves when flying around when doing maneuvers. So this parawing is actually not the easiest to do maneuvers in. A, because it just reacts a little bit slower. Maybe it is because of that narrow bar. And also, if you change your hands, sometimes the space between the bridles is actually not that big, and sometimes I just push my fingers between the bridles, which was a bit uncomfortable. So maneuver wise, it's not a super easy parawing. You can do your down loops, you can do your handle passes, but you know, it's just not an easy parawing. It's not your beginner's parawing, that's for sure. Something else that you feel when changing or handling the parawing, especially if you want to also fly from the front lines or hold the bar here towards the front, it is pretty sharp. Like you have some padding on the outside of the bar, but the inside is still pretty sharp. Here's some carbon sticking out. So it feels like, you know, maybe gloves are in order. I'm not gonna sail around with gloves, but you know, if this is your main parawing, then maybe go with gloves. Also because if you want to try to stash that parawing, these lines have a lot of tension. And as I've said, the central front lines are not separated. So if you go with a full front line stow, it is nearly impossible. I tried it, and as the lines are so slim, I couldn't really make a front line stow, which I have done for a while now. And it's just because the lines are super thin, a lot of tension on the lines, especially on the outside, and then the lines are too thin. So frontline sewing, that didn't really work. The parawing itself flies okay, it turns okay, could turn better, probably with a longer bar, but you know, that's a compromise that you maybe want to do with a shorter bar so it fits better in your pouch. Now, who is this parawing actually for? I think that's the main question. If you live in an area where you have 15 to maybe 30 knots of wind and it's super gusty, a parawing like that can work because the depower is really working, and it's pretty good. Like sometimes if a gust hits, I sometimes need 1 or 2 seconds just to go a little bit with the wind until I can really like put my ass down and counter that parawing. And with this one, I was just able to push the bar. So the depower with that push bar system actually works. If you don't have it hooked in though, it is a parawing with a lot of power, and it's a little difficult to depower. So if you live in this 15 to 25, 30 knots winds area and you really need to depower a lot right with the harness, then this parawing might work. If you want to stash your parawing, I couldn't do it. Maybe with gloves or different or better technique you can, but for that, it's probably not your beginners to intermediate parawing. That being said, I'm not sure if this parawing is gonna be for the pros either, because there are just too many things that are not finished yet, or it feels like an unfinished product. Because of the thin bridles. I don't know who tested it, but for them maybe it wasn't a problem. But also the bar, like the sharp edges of the bar here, that hurts. And you can really hurt yourself, so just take care when handling that parawing. Be aware of that. If you're aware of that and ride with gloves, then sure, shouldn't be a problem. Personally, I'm not going to use that parawing anymore, just because I usually have a second smaller parawing with me, a parawing that I can handle more easily. There are more comfortable parawings out there, but if you have gusty conditions and price is a priority, then sure, why not? I would have loved to see a phenomenal parawing, but this is Sroka's V1. So, you know, maybe with a V2 down the line, this system and this thing could really work. What do you guys think? Have you tried it yourself? Have you had other experiences? If yes, please tell me so in the comments. If you're into reviews, check out the playlist here. I review boards, foils, and parawings, and I recently reviewed the parawing. Maybe check it out here. And if you're not subscribed, like so many of you, hit that subscribe button. It helps me out. See you in the next one.